Hey everybody, Rob Rubin here from magick.tv, and this is the first of several Rob only segments here on magick.tv where I share in the most authentic manner some of my feelings, observations, and pretty much rants on certain things present in modern occultism today. And today's episode is actually called Love and Light Bullshit. And quite frankly, I am already up to here with this crap. All right. Simply put, there is a disease in the intuitive, esoteric community as a whole where people think that by coming off as sanctimonious love and lighters, they project a certain level of condescending energy to everyone else around them. And those who don't live up to those standards are either flawed, bad, or worse, have a problem. And I'm actually starting my segments with this because I think this is not just a disease, this is a cancer. Okay? This is a cancer for our community because it alienates people. All right? I've seen enough people with their green smoothies, I've seen enough people with their thoughts of inner awakening and alchemy and thinking that I'm so much better than everybody else because I've ascended to a certain level of this and that and I've taken this retreat and that and this. Guys, bullshit. Because one thing that worked for me as an occult teacher all these years, that I never came off as anything but what I was. I never tried to lord over people that I was better than them. I actually would tell them, no, you guys can be better than me. I want to show you your potential if you want to learn it. But I would never, under any circumstance of the word, try to push myself as a master, a guru, an enlightened soul, an alchemized, transformized, whatever the hell you want to call it. No, I was just me. And the one thing I was always honest about with everyone else was I am a human. I am fucked up. I make mistakes. My shit stink, and I eat meat. Okay? Never once did I try to come off as anything but what I really was. And a lot of people would actually say, but Rob, you're such an asshole. And I would tell them, thank you. But for those who got to know me, did actually notice that I'm actually a pretty nice guy. What I cannot stand are these people who think that it's only through this condescending, love and light, I am better than you energy that they grow as spirits. I don't think Jesus as an ascended master or the Buddha or any other of the teachers lorded over others that they were so much better than them. All right? And unfortunately, this, again, love and light bullshit is really getting in the way of the genuine light workers because now people don't even want to be associated with that because of its inauthenticity. I've seen so many people think that they're some sort of master just because they took one single retreat in Bali and now, okay, they're the next avatar. And when they carry themselves, they don't carry themselves as somebody who relates to the people, but instead they carry themselves as people who want to lord over others. I'm going to quote something that my dear friend and teacher Naomi Ozaniek said in our last episode of magick.tv, which was called Englamored, where certain people get englamored because they get into these practices because they think or they assume it's going to put them above others, that they want to look good, they want to be good, they want everybody to look up to them, they want to be above others, when they tend to fail to realize that getting into these practices actually will do the total opposite. It will F you up the rear end in a very painful way because when you're looking for these kind of truths, the truths will be given, but at a great price. I am going to quote a good example of a fantastic occult teacher when he said, and this is coming from Jack Grail, magic today, and in some ways paganism or alternative spirituality, tends to attract people who have been damaged, marginalized, who have no other option and are looking for a way to improve the odds or to increase their benefits. In other words, naturally, the occult, the esoteric, the spiritual is a practice of the broken. And if you cannot actually own up to your own brokenness, and you need to portray yourself as better than others all the time, because you had a third eye awakening or you attended an ayahuasca ceremony. Some of these practices are really amazing, okay? But it does not put you above anyone else, all right? How can, for example, you say how to teach people how to manifest love if you can't even manifest love properly. That's like me saying how to manifest losing 300 pounds when I'm still overweight. It is ludicrous. All right? But if you ask me, in all honesty, it is the broken, it is the damaged who are the best teachers because they have actual experience. Case in point. If these so-called love and light bullshitters come across a former addict, an alcoholic, a suicidal person, they can be so quick to judging, oh, your energy is low. You have low vibration energy. I don't want to have anything to do with you. But when in fact, they're missing out on a gold mine of healing. Because who better than to teach and help people get out of alcoholism than former alcoholics? Who better than to help people get away from addiction than former addicts? So don't be so quick to looking down at people just because they're in the dirt, just because they're going through shit in their life. Because quite frankly, it's that shit that they survive that make them genuine healers. But if you haven't been through that yourself, if you haven't seen what it's like to be desperate, if you haven't seen what it's like to be dirt poor, to be hungry, to be alone, to be abandoned, you have no freaking right, no right to look down or judge people for doing what they have to do to survive. All right? If a person needs to study darker magic just so that they can tap into their anger, so that they don't turn it on themselves and kill themselves, then by all means let them do it. That is their coping mechanism. Now, if you've been through that, then you will, through compassion, understand what they're going through. You'll say, oh crap, yeah, that's like what I went through. And I almost guarantee you will not judge. But if you've never been through that, and you're judging them for what they're doing, oh, he's dark, he practices Satanism, he practices Goetia, he's so angry. But you've never understood the why. What gives you the right to judge anyone for that? Some people choose anger over death. Did you ever think about that? Think about that long and hard. And like I said, this is not to say that light work is a bad thing, because there are some people out there who are really doing the Lord's work. They're really helping others. They're really, going into soup kitchens, helping the poor, sitting in Alcoholics Anonymous meetings voluntarily. And these are the good examples of light workers. But these people who are just going after the englamored stuff, just to look good, it's disgusting. Because number one, these kind of people have the same habit of interjecting themselves into other people's lives and other people's business. All right? I am open when I say about it that it was fake light workers that were pretty much responsible for the failure of my marriage. Because unfortunately, my ex-wife, God bless her, was led astray by fake light workers. They used to tell her that me, her husband at the time, was bad for her brand. A true light worker won't do that. A true light worker will say, you have sworn an oath. And as long as he's not hurting you or harming you, he's your husband. You should support him and vice versa. They will always see the value of family. But they won't try to do things for their own ends just because they're so conceited about how they look. Because at the end of the day, one of the things we can do, if you really want to be a genuine occultist, just own up to your own fucked upness. We are all in one way or the other messed up. We are all in one way or the other flawed. And when we are open about it, when we actually say, yep, yeah, I'm an angry person, I am really angry, it can't be used against us. You're authentic. But if I'm portraying this ascended master look all the time, I have my anger under control. I have transcended the need to be angry. And that minute I blow up, my entire facade is gone. There's a very beautiful book written by the late Manly P. Hall called Words to the Wise. And one of the things he says there, if you meet anybody and they look too divine, too ascended, too saintly, run for the hills. Run for the hills. Because chances are they got a lot of skeletons in their closet. And I actually recommend that book to anyone who's about to begin a practice or study occultism, because it is in written format a textbook on anti-bullshit. All right? Another thing about it too is that when people tend, especially a lot of love and lighters like to do this, Again, I am not shitting on genuine practices, like I'm not shitting on healing. There's some amazing healing modalities out there, like Reiki and Seraphim Blueprint, that I personally adhere to and love. But the problem comes when people start saying, well, this is the one true way, and your way is wrong. Or this is the best way of doing it, everything else is wrong. Or this is the only way we should do it, Rob, your way is wrong. Because I've always told students in my class that your power, your magic is subjective. It is subjective. How you do it is how you do it. And nobody has the right to tell you how to do your practices because they are subjective to you. The minute somebody starts intervening in what you're doing, it shows that they don't respect your own personal practices. And the one thing I tell everybody is I don't care what you practice. You could practice voodoo, you could practice Reiki, you could practice Enochian. It does not make you better than anyone else. The minute you come from that kind of energy, you've lost the argument. But when you realize we all have something to learn from one another. I have learned some amazing things from some healers. I've also learned how not to be a bad person from healers. I've seen healers that practice wonderful arts, but on how they conduct themselves as a community sometimes, or as a belief system, it's just like, whoa. I mean, it's almost as ludicrous as saying that, oh, all Muslims are bad because they're terrorists. No, they're not. Islam is one of the most beautiful religions in the world. Okay? It just so happens that some really crazy people have used the name of it. But there have also been Catholic terrorists. So think about that. The actions of a few do not taint the practice or the belief. So when you see these groups that come off as borderline cultish, that they make you think that like your beliefs are invalid, that there's something wrong with you, that you're not light enough, you're not love enough. These are all red flags. I remember one dude that a good friend of mine, Dr. Alex Brzezinski, he is a good example of what I would call a genuine light worker because he could look at somebody who practices healing and say, that is wonderful and beautiful. And he could meet like somebody, the darkest satanic black magician, and he'd say, wow, that's amazing and powerful. Tell me more. Non-judgment. He looks at everybody through a lens of curiosity and respect. And that is what's needed. Unfortunately, a lot of these people who promulgate this love and light bullshit aren't promulgating love and light. What they're actually doing is just trying to say, I'm better than you. You'll see them walking around in their white linen outfits and their beads and all that crap. I mean, I'm not saying that shit doesn't work. If that's part of your personal belief system, fine. But we as a community, we as leaders in the occult community cannot condone inauthenticity. We cannot tell our students to be something that they're not. See, the lights agreed with me. But what I'm trying to say here is, at the end of the day, there is no one true practice. There is no right way of doing things. But the wrong way of doing things is to tell people, I'm better than you. There's something wrong with you. Like, I heard this stupidest thing ever with some fake light workers a couple of years ago. That they were talking how anger is 3D. It's low vibration. Hence, we shouldn't be angry. And I'm like, hey, hold up. There was a very powerful spiritual teacher who roid raged and went ape shit when people defiled his temple and turned it into a market. And they didn't even know who it was. Like, really? Who was that? Jesus. It's in the Bible. It's a human emotion. So is sadness. So if you have a teacher or anybody like that who's trying to tell you that anger is bad, sadness is bad, they're telling you not to be human. One thing I always tell each and every one of my students is, you are allowed to feel how you feel. I honor and I respect your emotions. Any teacher that makes you feel guilty for feeling any particular way is not a good teacher. People need to respect your boundaries, your beliefs, your limitations. And quite frankly, there are no practices, beliefs that are better than the others. At the end of the day, it's just yours. I hope this made sense, boys and girls. See you next episode.